Hello everybody, welcome to day 3 of ISE 2017. We're here in Amsterdam. We're in the Scala booth, which is in Hall 8, the digital signage hall. I've got Chris Riegel, who is the recent CEO of Scala above me. You can see the logo above our head, but Chris is, of course, long-time digital signage industry veteran, CEO of STRATACACHE and a number of other companies in the thing. We'll get to talk about that in a second, but this has been our home for every lunchtime. Thank you, Chris, for letting us have this space. So we've been running lunchtime sessions with Scala partners and learning a lot about Jyske Bank and Ocean Outdoor, some really big installs that Scala have been involved in. KPN installs, we had a good session this morning with KPN. I have to say, with Chris here in front of me, I guess I have to say, but you've got some great partners and they've been doing some great work. There's some real award-winning projects in Europe that you've been doing.
I think the value of Scala as a whole, when we did the acquisition around it, was to say that you have 500 partners with tens of thousands of years of experience in digital signage, and think of Scala as an ecosystem that allows those partners and those customers to flourish. It's really about building that better experience and making Scala the platform that enables that.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so much hidden in there, really. I mean, Scala has been going for 30 years this year, I think. You were kind enough, before your time, but Scala with Harry Horn, your big CMO now, was kind enough to support our Gala Awards 5 years ago, and that was the 25th anniversary. That's when we painted the whole room red for Scala, so we have to thank you for that, but it's the 30th anniversary this year.
30 years now, yes.
Yeah. One of the funny things, because we're at the RAI, not many people realise that Quinn, one of your big partners here in the Netherlands, is responsible for all the wayfinding.
Exactly.
Around the store, 700 screens running since, I don't know how many years, but 2010, 2009, a long time. So it says a lot about Scala equipment and the software and how the whole thing works.
And it's amazing all of the locations that Scala is in that you just never picture it. Scala is arguably the largest software company in out-of-home digital media that you don't know about. Scala is in wayfinding, is in hospitality, is in so many different sectors where it's eponymous with the digital signage industry in many ways, the same way you would call a tissue Kleenex or a can of soda Coke.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's arguably about the digital out-of-home. I think you and I have talked about it before. I mean, you count up all the billboards that Clear Channel have got and all the individual billboards around the world. You must have thousands and thousands, and I don't think there's that many networks that big. So.
Exactly, and I think that where Scala is a great footprint for those service providers to be able to have the freedom to do what they want. They're not tied to a software vendor A or B that says you will run your network this way. It's a platform they can customize around their business.
They can plug their own ELP in, their own programmatic buying solution if they wanted to do that.
Exactly.
So you've owned Scala for how many months now then? It'll be
coming up on 6 months.
6 months?
Yep.
And what changes have you implemented in that time?
So I think the biggest things that we saw when we came in was that Scala was not resourced properly. The business had been a very, very solid business, profitable business, but had not done the R&D, had not put the financing into development in the way that a modern software company has to do. As the market's matured and continues to grow bigger and bigger, every generation of software is a bigger investment. So it was incumbent upon us to come in and say, we're willing to spend the money to grow that business. Within 2 weeks of acquisition, we doubled the size of the development team. So we're making big investments in development, in product, in all the necessary areas to be able to really grow Scala as that world-class product and make certain that all the things that are necessary as the industry has moved from more and more of an AV footprint to truly a digital and a web HTML-enabled environment, make sure that Scala crosses that chasm successfully.
I'm not sure you've announced EXP publicly yet, but I know you've been talking to your partners about it. They seem to be as excited as we were when we first saw it a couple of weeks ago.
Absolutely. EXP is kind of a black ops project, but it's tremendously interesting as you look at a screen, whether it be a large format, a tablet, a mobile device, and saying, how do I unlock application value on that screen? Scala Enterprise has historically been traditional digital signage. We're now branching that out in EXP to go after many, many markets on app enablement, app delivery in that retail space or in that customer engagement space that are perfectly valid digital signage use cases, but EXP drives a completely modern interface around it.
Now, you guys do a lot of shows. I mean, STRATACACHE have got a good history in the retail event space and the casino space and some of the other divisions of your business. But Scala have been around, I guess, DSE, ISE, Infocom. I think you're returning to Infocom this year from a Scala perspective. So everybody can see them there in Orlando. But the one thing that we were most impressed with this year from you guys was And I guess, I don't know if it was a STRATACACHE perspective that did it, but it was the NRF show.
Right.
I went to NRF with very low expectations.
Yep.
I came away loving the show, wanting to go back next year. There must have been 20,000, 30,000 retailers at the show.
Absolutely.
Very well put together by NRF. The association is the equal in many respects, and I think Infocom could learn some things. Infocom are good, but they could learn some things from the way the Retail Federation put their stuff together.
And the Retail Federation show brings end customers, actual end users. It's not as much about a tech show. It's about what does that enable, and that's the key point to a show.
But
like
you've
that.
been there from STRATACACHE perspective for many years.
15,
You've been ahead of the
16
curve.
years, yes.
And then, so this year you brought together STRATACACHE, Scala. There was a little bit of NeoCast there.
A little bit of RDM,
But you've got big plans for NRF next January, I believe.
Absolutely. So next year we've got the consolidation, larger booth, a combined
Moving up a
company
level?
presence, moving up to the upstairs
Top tier.
level. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think as this market has matured, it's now digital signage 10 years ago was in the very back corner. It took us that long to move up to the very front. It's like moving from the kids' table to the adult table at Christmas dinner.
Right.
Now it's seen in that environment as a standard part of the trade, important to many of the buyers that are there, and there's much, much more demand. We came out of that show with just under 1,500 leads, which 2 years ago that would have been 200. So it's growing very rapidly.
Yeah. And you got people this week at the gambling show. Say gambling isn't the right word. The casino show in London.
The casino and lottery show in London as well.
Yeah. So you've got many verticals to cover.
Correct.
What would we expect from DSE? You always have a sort of, you've had a stand on the show floor.
Right.
Scala have a stand on the show floor.
Yep.
What are you doing with DSE this year?
So DSE and Global Shop are concurrent.
Same time, yeah.
This year. So we have Scala at DSE because Scala had not been at DSE for the last several years.
And you're going to tell me
and
you've
then
got
STRATACACHE is at Global Shop.
And you've been in Global Shop for 5, 6, 7 years now.
Probably 10 or 11. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. We did Global Shop a couple of years ago. It was the famous time when we got sued by a big music company we won't make any mention of. Just because we learned some off-the-record comments. They weren't off the record, but we learned some comments at the show. I remember seeing you there at that show. That was also when Global Shop was the week before DSE. I think we stayed over on the weekend. Good show, but again, I've seen music companies there, and I've seen you, STRATACACHE, there, but nobody else seems to get the fact that Global Shop is a good opportunity to meet people.
There's the fallacy in this industry that you go to tech shows and then you're just talking to your competition. I want to go to shows where you have end customers, where there's opportunity, and you're there to inform.
Right.
There's at this show at IC this week, it's been extremely refreshing because it's probably 50-50 mix to integrators and partners to end customers. So you're seeing end customers reaching out more around digital, and that's where the opportunity really is.
The more I learn about your empire, and I think I'm big enough to call it an empire now, we'll be calling you Kaiser Riegel soon.
Sir or Lord would
Sir
do
or
as
Lord
well.
would do. Well, you're not English, so you can't be a Sir or Lord. I'm sorry. We can honorary give you a Sir.
There we go.
That's an honorary knighthood. Your empire is quite huge, and you have office space all over the place. I learned that you've got some places in Florida that you've acquired with acquisition from Verifone and others. So, and you're going to be at Infocom in Orlando this year.
We'll be at Infocom in Orlando. Scala had not done Infocom in the last, I believe, 2 years. Strategically, in our rebuilding of that Scala brand and kind of reasserting into the marketplace, there should not be any significant global event that Scala does not have a presence at and is not building the brand.
Yeah, we, I think you say 2 years. I'm not sure. I mean, you were probably with HP 3 years ago.
Yep.
To have your own stand, maybe go back 4 or 5 years. Because
I
know it's every other year, but Infocom in Orlando, we go to every year. It's our favorite. It's our favorite Infocom rather than the Vegas one. So you got a biggish stand there, or are you just trying to reestablish your presence?
I think it's 20 by 30, if I recall. Yeah, so pretty good size.
Yeah. And what about your partner conferences? Because you're well known. I think we've said in the industry, or we said to the industry, there are probably 3 companies that are large enough, and you may disagree with this, so don't say anything or put your poker face on.
Right.
Broadsign have got enough customers to have a partner conference. You guys have been doing partner conferences forever, and they are absolutely brilliant. Absolutely superb.
Thanks.
Whether you do a European one or North American one, I've seen some of the best presentations from your end user customers at those partner events. I've never seen them present anywhere else. We had one a couple of years ago from the Jyske Bank that we interviewed yesterday. Unbelievably good. I mean, a real sharing of knowledge which you can do. And there's probably one or two other companies that have got that sort of size. So what's your plans for the partner conferences going forward now that we've got your control of the whole empire?
So really 2 things. Scala needs to do better work at having partner conferences on a consistent basis, getting to other regions of the world, Latin America, Asia, India, China, Japan, etc. and within those partner conferences, continuing to incentivize and build that ecosystem around Scala. You have great exchange with the partners. We had a mini partner conference yesterday here at ISE, but those partners exchanging ideas, communicating openly with those partners is part of the great strength of Scala, and it's just keeping those dialogues going and growing those relationships.
Well, that's good. Well, we have to thank you for allowing us to have this little broadcast set on the stand. But it's been very good to get out of people like Quinn and Company, what they've been doing. They've been doing some great work, which we tend not to hear about, which we want to hear about.
And there's a tremendous number of very, very talented resellers in the Scala channel that do great partner development work, and there's some that take a telecine who are very good at promoting that and showing it, but there's many, many others that are just the quiet, very focused, head down type guys that do brilliant work but are not very good about promoting themselves, and that's what we're trying to help with as well.
The difference may well be, I mean, I noticed with Quinn, I mean, they come out of KPN, they're IT driven, so they are going to be, they're more, not saying they're more technical, but they're more inward looking than say Telecine is. You know, we've got Mad James Fine, you know, content genius, and he's happy to share about everything, and a brilliant presenter, one of the best presenters that we've ever had on the stage with us. So tell us a little bit about the media stuff. I mean, you probably shook the market up a little bit when you announced this week about your new media plans. It makes a lot of sense. STRATACACHE have been selling media for many, many years. Tell us how that's going to work going forward.
So I think the success of the Scala channel is to be able to build bundled solutions for customers. So bring in media players, bring in LED, bring in display. The simpler that is for a partner, for a customer to just say, wait a minute, I can go to one point, buy this kit, and that's everything I need. We need to make that simpler and easier. That helps with the scale. We, STRATACACHE, last year shipped just over 250,000 media players. This year we'll probably do 50% greater on that total. There's a scalable business there, a reliable business, and we can take away some of the pain of having to have multiple different points to build a total solution.
Right, okay. Have you had much of a chance to look around the rest of the show?
A bit, but there are only so many mount vendor opportunities to see the absolute great evolution in the tilt swivel mount that puts you to sleep. Okay,
but you must have enjoyed looking at all the Chinese LED as well.
I know Chinese LED does touch a special place in your heart.
Definitely, I love Chinese LED.
I'm looking now at the Chinese translations to English and partial marketing phrases that just so go to the benefit of working with entities like yourself to help deliver a proper message in a show environment where many do not seem to do that.
On a serious note for a second, we had Rick Cope from Nanolumens, one of the LED manufacturers that we do really like, on a show yesterday, our lunchtime show yesterday with Peter Cherner, your Chief Product Officer. I think, I'm not sure how many years Peter Cherner's been with you, but he's probably a 25 or 30 year industry veteran with old Commodore Amiga stuff. But the conversation we had going between those two, one was on my left and my right, was how important it was to educate people that it's not, anybody could take an LED or a screen and hang it up, do something with it with a cheap piece of cheap software. But how do you manage, like with your McAfee network you've got with STRATACACHE, how do you manage 15,000 endpoints? Here with in the Rye Live, Quinn have got 700 screens. They've got one person managing it. He wants to touch a screen and move a few things and update things. That's the cleverness. Very difficult to show at a show on a booth. Very difficult to do that.
I mean, we have a network. We, as STRATACACHE and Combined Scala, have over 2 million licenses in the field today. We operate for customers about 750,000 active devices. We know to a great level of detail what that manpower is to be able to manage a number of devices, and the more efficient that you make that management as a service provider to the customer, that's the critical point. The buying and the deployment is just the very first phase of that network. It's really the care and feeding over the 3-year, 5-year, 7-year life of that technology.
Is there, I mean, what's the next big announcement we can, have you done with mergers and acquisitions?
No, not at all. I'm headed to the UK tomorrow for a number of discussions. You'll see multiple additional announcements as well as our formal announcement of the Lift acquisition.
Okay, good. Chris Riegel, we've taken up 15 minutes of your valuable time. I know you've got to go to catch a conference call, but thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.